They haven't been on the court together in more than a year, but tonight, LeBron James and Kevin Durant renew their rivalry. I'm Mike Sherman, and this is another Thunder Thursday on News OK Live. Joining me are our Thunder coverage team. Sitting here in the studio, Thunder beat writer Eric Horn. Somewhere in Cleveland, Ohio, I believe, our other Thunder beat writer Anthony Slater. From the newsroom here at 100 West Main in downtown Oklahoma City, columnist Barry Trammell. And from an eating establishment in Norman, Oklahoma, where she was down there interviewing the Sooners as they prepare for the college football playoff semifinal, columnist Jenny Carlson.
I'm in Cleveland County. Does that help anything?
Cleveland County, Cleveland, Ohio, something like that. Let's start with a guy in Cleveland, Ohio.
Can I adjust your statement? They did play against each other last year in Cleveland. Durant actually got hurt in that game. He sprained his toe. But they did play against each other.
It's so forgettable, Anthony, that I forgot it. So let me ask you this question. Is this still the NBA's best superstar showdown?
I think so because I think the two biggest superstars in the NBA right now are Steph Curry and LeBron James. But if they play each other, like they did in the finals, they're not guarding each other. I mean, LeBron might guard Curry at times, but Curry's not guarding LeBron. These two, though, will guard each other for a bulk of the night, definitely down the stretch. And I still think they're the two best small forwards in the league, which is the best position in the league. So, yes, in my opinion, it is the best matchup.
Eric, Kobe versus LeBron. Remember those little commercials with the puppets and all that stuff? Never got off the ground because they never played in the finals. Kevin Durant and LeBron James has. They have, I mean. But is this the rivalry everybody thought it was going to be?
I don't think it is because they've never made it back to the point to where they were in 2012. I mean, if they had some more time where they met in some big games in between now and then maybe it would be, especially in the playoffs. But since then, and we talk about it like it's been decades ago, and it almost seems that way because, I mean, LeBron was on another team. Durant's had some injuries. The Thunder have had some injuries since then. So I think it'd be great if it could get to that point again, but there's been so much time between then and the finals that it kind of seems like that rivalry that could have been is dissipated.
Very quick. The most memorable LeBron versus KD moment.
Who are you asking, me?
Barry.
Barry Trammell.
I would probably go the end of NBA Finals. Durant missed that short baseline jumper that could have tied it, I think, in the last few seconds with LeBron on him. The Thunder somehow pulls that game out. The whole finals might be different.
Jenny, you weren't available that night, but I think Barry's talking about the time LeBron took his forearm and put it right in Kevin's midsection.
Well, anything that happened in that finals, I had a 1 day to about 10-day-old baby, so I'm a little foggy on what happened in that finals. No, the Thunder didn't win it, but clearly this is a rivalry that needs to be renewed with these guys at their best. Maybe tonight starts that. I mean, the Thunder got an easy win last night, got those guys rest. Maybe we see a really good matchup tonight in prime time.
Anthony
Chaco had midsection issues of her own.
Touche. Anthony, what's the latest? What's new with Cleveland? We know they're not very healthy.
Yeah, they aren't. Kyrie Irving's not going to play tonight, although he's very close to a return. Iman Shumpert's out. He's a very good wing defender, a guy that can maybe guard Durant in spurts, and he won't be playing. And then Mo Williams is questionable. So they're depleted in the backcourt, but at the same time, they have LeBron James. They're playing well. They're at home. The Thunder are on a back-to-back. Cleveland's favored tonight by 3 points, and they probably should be.
Eric, euphoria has broken out in Thunderland. Thunder's riding a 6-game winning streak, longest current right now in the NBA. And share with us the question you were asked when you did the Power Lunch live chat today about the Thunder and its juggernaut.
Well, I got an interesting question that can they be on a 30-game winning streak going into, I believe, the West Coast trip against Golden State?
Super Bowl week.
Super Bowl week on a 30-game winning streak. Now, I try to humor all of the people on our chat.
Even Harry Man.
Even Harry Man and his affinity for Hasheem Thabit. But No, that is very far-fetched. No one can be on such a streak. But the Thunder are playing really well now. I mean, all jokes aside, they're playing very well. They put together some really strong games in this stretch with blowout wins against Memphis and last night against Portland, and then a tight win against the Jazz and also Atlanta. And I mean, to be going in against the Cavaliers, one of the best teams in the East, the way they're playing right now, I don't know if they can ask for much more.
Barry, what's the best and most factual thing you can say about the way the Thunder's playing right now?
I would say that they are playing much better than they did earlier in the year, and really that's all we wanted. That's all we could ask for. They were pretty shaky, I thought, at the start of the year, but they've been playing solid basketball now for 2 or 3 weeks. So, they've sort of been in the shadows of the Golden State and San Antonio start, but if this continues, the Thunder will be an NBA title contender.
Anthony, what's the most meaningful thing about the Thunder's recent good play? It's winning streak.
It's obviously the defense. I mean, if you look at their offensive rating now as to what it was earlier in the season, it's about the same. Really good, 107.6 right now. But the defense has gone from bottom 10 in the league to now top 10 in the league. At 99.5 points per 100 possessions. They've held 7 straight opponents, I believe, under 100 points. They're just playing a lot consistently and a lot better on that end. And, that was what these Google Hangouts that we were doing on Thursdays early in the season was talking about. Why can't they play consistent defense? They are right now. That's why they've won, 10 of 12 games?
Jenny, do you attribute that more to the quality of opponent? Not exactly going up against offensive juggernauts, Portland, Utah, Memphis, or the Thunder's discovering something that works on defense?
Oh, there's probably a little bit of both. I mean, I do think you're seeing a stretch where these aren't the best teams on their schedule. It's about to get better, obviously, tonight with the Cavaliers. But I do think that they have improved in ways that it really doesn't depend on the caliber of those opponents. We saw what they did against Memphis, just really dictating. And still, I think that's one of those things that you like to see against a team that so often dictates style, for them to then dictate their own style with that smaller ball lineup, how it's performed offensively and defensively. So to me, those are really good signs that would be there. They might have lost a game or two in there had they had a little bit tougher stretch, but still, you're playing good teams, teams that are probably going to be in the hunt for playoff spots. So I think it's been positive vibes all the way around.
Of course, Golden State has really made its hay playing small ball, hitting the three, moving around, and still maintaining its defensive excellence. Eric, the Thunder during this stretch has really showed an ability to win a bunch of different ways. Against Memphis, it went very small. But last night against Portland, Barry wrote about Steven Adams and his power. You wrote about them getting to the rim. Is that really sort of a big takeaway? We knew that this team wanted to be able to win in a variety of ways. Are they now showing it?
Yeah, and I think that it doesn't have to be one way or the other for the Thunder for this season. Now, when you get to Golden State, we're going to see what happens with them, but they've shown that they can do it a couple of different ways. They showed in that Memphis game where they could turn it on, go small ball, but they also really pulled away from Memphis with Steven Adams and Andre Robertson on the floor as well.
Barry, what about Enes Kanter? Enes Kanter right now is not really getting big minutes. His defensive liabilities haven't showed up. In fact, Anthony, in his excellent 5 observations last night, Anthony, you want to share it with us? We may have come upon a defensive strategy for Enes Kanter.
Oh, his vertical planking?
Is that what you call it?
Yeah, it's the Roy Hibbert. I actually didn't. I don't think I put that in the observations, but he's been doing that this year. I don't know if you guys have seen, but he's really discovered the verticality rule. I feel like he just watched Roy Hibbert tapes this summer because he's not going to block a lot of shots. Obviously, we joked about it a little bit, but I mean, he really. Oftentimes, he then puts his hand over and actually does foul the guy, and then looks at the ref confused, saying he had his hand straight up. But I actually do think it's helped him this year. A lot of times, he's just contested a shot by jumping directly straight up in the air and vertical planking.
Barry, if you can't move, don't move. But isn't the question really becomes, any minutes you give Ennis Cantor or minutes you're taking away from Steven Adams, who really, when you think about it, probably couldn't be playing any better.
Well, Ennis Cantor, his minutes are not as high as we thought they might be, but part of that is twofold. One is what you mentioned with Adams. Adams is playing very well. And two, the Thunder, like a lot of teams, tends to go small at times. So we're not talking about 48 minutes a game with Steven Adams and Ennis Cantor. We're talking about 44 or 42 minutes a game. And Steven Adams, the way he's playing, is going to get the bulk of those. So we're looking at 18 to 20 minutes a game for Ennis Cantor, but there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, he's been very efficient on offense. He's been very productive offensively. He rebounds well all the time. So I think, he's probably not playing as much as he wants to, but I think Billy Donovan is using him extremely well and about the way he should be, spotting him in certain situations where the defensive liability is minimalized. So I like the way the Thunder's using Cantor, and there's going to be times when the Thunder needs inside scoring punch, and there they sit a guy that's instant offense in the paint.
Yeah, the one thing, I mean, Cantor may only be getting 18 to 20, but they're like very important 18 to 20 because it's with that second unit that Donovan likes to play without Durant, without Westbrook. And honestly, the best option is to just post him most of the time. We saw them do it last night. He got to the line 8 times. He scored 12 points. He's very important with that all-bench group.
I got a fascinating bunch of story ideas emailed to me by the Thunder coverage team last night. A lot of those I'd like to just roll out here and get you to answer them, but I'll hold back on a few. And let's go to the questions that readers are asking right now. Maybe, Eric, maybe it's a sign of how well this team is playing that the burning questions seem to be about secondary things like backup point guard. It really seems like there's a question hanging in the air whether Cam Payne eventually is going to take over for DJ Augustine. I wonder, ask it this way. Is that something that a contending team would do?
I mean, if you look at the way that DJ Augustine's played in his Thunder tenure, we know that he's not the best defender, and that Cam Payne, at his size and his skill level, can eventually become that kind of player. So I guess at this point it's more of a luxury for the Thunder, but it may become a necessity when you're going up against a team that's got some really quality guards coming off the bench, and you'll be able to throw a larger Cam Payne at guys. Billy Donovan's kind of talked around it to me when asked about Cam Payne getting into the rotation more. And Cam Payne's just kind of said the right things, saying that he's trying to show up every day and play and handle his D-League stints professionally. So I don't foresee him really stealing significant minutes from DJ right now. But if you're a contending team, I mean, there are worse things to be worrying about than your rookie point guard getting minutes.
Jenny, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate the importance of that issue?
Was that to me? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Probably low, but at the same time, when you look at that second unit, I think it's a real question of who you're going to put out there that might play a little bit of defense. I mean, I think that that's a real sticking point. Does Donovan have to start adjusting lineups and inserting starters with those second guys to have some defense out there? And if Cam Payne can play a little bit of defense, it'll be more than DJ Augustine. And, does that change the options that Billy Donovan has? If it does, then I think, that could really bolster that second group, maybe allow a little bit deeper bench. I mean, we've seen this team get into the playoffs and really only be playing 2 or 3 guys off the bench, sometimes even less. So to me, if you can extend your bench and if that helps you do that, then I think that is a big deal and something that could potentially help the Westbrooks, the Durants, the Ibakas, the Adams of this team to have to, get a little bit of extra rest and not have to play as many minutes.
Barry, how big a problem is DJ Augustine's defense?
I think it's a big problem. I don't know if I wasn't paying attention last year, or if he's gotten worse or what, but he really can't guard much of anybody. And last night, you'll notice, anytime Waiters was in the game with the second unit, Waiters took whoever was the best offensive player, even if it was Lillard. So, I mean, they're asking Dion to do some things he's not even equipped to do, just because they know DJ Augustine can't do it at all. And when you're trotting out a B team that includes Anthony Morrow and Ennis Cantor, and then you add a defensive liability like DJ Augustine to the mix, I don't think it's sustainable, certainly not in the playoffs. I think something done by April.
I'm running this campaign. I think he should have already been getting minutes over DJ Augustine. I think it's clear he should be tonight, tomorrow.
Wait, you're talking about the campaign?
Yes, I'm the campaign manager for campaign right now. I just think this team's ceiling is so clearly higher with campaign because we know what DJ Augustine is. Barry just laid it out right there. I mean, he can't defend anyone. I'm not saying campaign will be great in his first 10 minutes of playing defense, but he's 6'3", he's long, he's young, he's got a lot of room to grow. I don't see why now you wouldn't give him a test run, a 20-game test run, because I think he can do some things offensively, which is shoot the ball, create for others. He can pass, he can get Canner in that pick and roll more than Augustine. And I think he has the capabilities of becoming a better defender, even as soon as 2 months from now. So I honestly am a little confused on why they haven't tried it.
Eric, and I'll throw this out to all you guys after this, but Eric, is there any chance that Golden State's near historic start altered Oklahoma City's plans? Is it possible that Golden State jumping out there, and to a lesser extent San Antonio, made the minutes for campaign go away and moved over to the D-League early?
Small chance. I don't think there's a huge chance. I think that just getting campaign minutes, regardless of what Golden State is doing, is the best thing to do. We've seen him dominate in the D-League in the couple of stints he's had, and I think that that's going to be good for him for whenever he's ready to get back into the rotation. But I don't think that Golden State's run has had any bearing on what they're doing with campaign so much. I think that Golden State is an entity into itself. San Antonio is, and the Thunder seems like that crew and that organization that's so focused on what they're doing internally that they're not really bothered by what Steph Curry's doing over here.
Guys, is there a chance that the Thunder needs to look externally for an answer at backup point guard rather than throwing a rookie out there to play, in big May and June games?
Why don't they find out right now? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't.
exactly.
Just find out now where he stands.
Find out before the trade deadline, because if he can't and Augustine can't, then maybe you can package Augustine's expiring deal and Novak and try to get a guy. But if you don't know now, you're not going to know past the deadline, and then you're stuck.
You got 2 months. We've basically got 2 months to the trade deadline. That's a lot of games. And I hadn't counted up. That's probably 40 games. So you got a lot of time to work on that. I'd give campaign some.
Okay, guys, of course, the premier game, the marquee game tonight in Cleveland, Thunder versus Cleveland. But then on Saturday night, Barry, an old friend or an old rival comes to town, Kobe Bryant, the first of 2 appearances scheduled this year. And you're writing about Kobe for Saturday and looking at sort of what was his role in christening the NBA and OKC. What are you finding out, and what do you remember?
Oh, I mean, the circus has come to town nature of any time Kobe came to downtown Oklahoma City. That first Saturday night back in 2005, right before Christmas, was a night everybody excited. First playoff game in Thunder history, the last playoff game in Kobe history. Now we're looking at April, the final road game in Kobe history, all in Oklahoma City. So, he's sort of become a punchline now with the demise of the Lakers and the demise of his own game. But 10 years ago and 5 years ago, it was a big deal when Kobe Bryant walked through the doors of the arena, and it had a energetic impact on not just the people in the arena, but people all over town.
Yeah, I remember I was at that game, as you said, a Saturday night game in February. It was a couple weeks, Jenny brought this to mind the other day, just a couple weeks after Kobe had scored 81 points against the Raptors. I think he had almost 25 points in that first quarter. Amazingly, the Hornets won, remembered for Kirk Snyder's dunk over Von Wafer, remembered for a great play that Barry claims is way better than Kirk Snyder's, Chris Paul end-to-end drive at the end of the first quarter. Just exciting stuff all the way around. Of course, it's been in a big way usurped by the excitement that the Thunder has brought to town in Oklahoma City. Eric, as you think about the NBA, we got two premier games, two premier franchises. First Cleveland, next the Lakers. Is there another NBA story out there that you've got your eye on? I know we've been focused so much on the Golden State Warriors. Is there some other news or development on the NBA right now that you think is interesting and we should pay attention to?
I think there's one right here in town. I mean, Kevin Durant's having probably the most efficient season of his entire NBA career, and it's been largely overshadowed by what Golden State's doing. I actually had there was somebody in Utah who kind of went hyperbole and said, if not for Steph Curry, people might be recognizing that Kevin Durant's having the greatest season in NBA history. Now that's a little over the top, but he's having maybe a season that compares efficiency-wise to his MVP season, and it's getting largely overlooked by what Steph Curry and Golden State have done so far.
Anthony, it's a great point Eric made. Of course, you know that the Thunder, or this is an indication all is right in the Thunder universe. When you turn on the television and Skip Bayless is maintaining that Russell Westbrook is inhibiting Kevin Durant with his play. I mean, that means both of those guys are on the court, both of those guys are producing. Is there another NBA story you got your eye on?
Yeah, I mean, the Spurs, obviously, right now, they're only 3.5 back of the Warriors. They're 22-5. I believe they're undefeated at home, something like 12-0, 13-0 at home. And they have the best defensive rating, I believe, in NBA history right now. I think they're only giving up about 92 points per 100 possessions, which is, like, outrageous. They're playing, in some ways, just as good as the Warriors. I think their net rating's just as good.
Jenny, is there another NBA story you've had your eye on?
I mean, I think there's been things that have popped up, but I can't take my eye off the Warriors for too long. I'm sorry. I mean, I think what they've done and what they continue to do, I mean, it's just impressive. It's fun, and I mean, I don't know if they can continue it. I don't know if we can expect them to lose only 2 or 3 ball games all year. I mean, it seems a little bit unlikely, but you start to play out those scenarios in your head. If they rally off another 10 or 12 wins before they lose again, then you start talking about counting their losses this regular season on one hand. That seems crazy. I just can't help but be sort of captivated by that on a regular basis.
Yeah, Klay Thompson scored 43 points in 3 quarters last night. I saw some crazy stat that Thompson, Stephon Curry, and one other person, Draymond Green, I think, outscored the Suns by themselves through 3 quarters. Yeah, it's kind of hard to take your eye off that. How about it, Barry? Some other NBA news development you think is worth everybody thinking about, focusing on?
Yes, and this is news that actually transcends this season, which is the East has gotten a lot better. It's just not as good as we thought it was going to be. The East had a better record than the West as of last week. I haven't figured it up this week, but you're seeing a lot of good, solid teams in the East, and you're seeing fewer and fewer in the West. So if this becomes a season-long trend, that changes the landscape of the whole NBA, because for 10, 12, 14 years, the West has dominated. Somebody like the Thunder, which would have been, just royalty in the East, has had to fight and claw and scratch just to, get a top 3 seed in the West. So keep your eye on that as teams like Toronto and Detroit and Boston and Charlotte really rise up.
Yeah, the 8th seed in the West right now is the Denver Nuggets at 11-14. The Rockets are 12-14. They're the 7th seed. They've already fired their coach. The 6th seed's Memphis. They might fire their coach tomorrow. The West is kind of shaky right now, towards the middle to bottom. The top's still really strong, obviously.
And an East storyline that hasn't been talked about as much is Indiana kind of getting back to prominence with Paul George. I mean, he's coming off of a horrific injury, and to see him kind of come back and get back and even better than that level that he was at previously, to where he's among the top small forwards in the league, that's a storyline that's kind of getting buried too by Golden State right now.
Pacers with a very good culture, coach, general manager, franchise, something we don't think about a lot. I'm looking at Dwight Howard and the Houston Rockets. That thing seems to be, where there's smoke, there must be fire. There's reports now that Dwight Howard would like to be traded. He wants to opt out of his contract at the end of this year. Doesn't like playing with James Harden. This is a team that was in the Western Conference Finals. Of course, if Doc Rivers had been able to coach, he could have won. He blew a 3-1 lead. The Clippers would have been in the Western Conference Finals. Instead, Doc, who I love, but is incredibly overrated.
I'm questioning that.
Well, I love him. I love to talk to him, but let's face it.
To me.
Let's face it. He's overrated as a coach. He's proven it in consecutive playoffs, blowing leads first to the Thunder, then to the Rockets, and now the Rockets are being exalted. Turns out they're falling apart. Interesting development.
By the way, is anybody surprised that Dwight Howard has once again imploded a team? I mean, when he went to the Rockets, I wrote, I'm sure other people did too, this guy has been a problem everywhere he's gone. It seemed like a great idea when he goes somewhere. Seemed like a great idea when he went to Houston. Here he is now again saying, I don't want to play with James Harden. I want to be traded. No surprise for me.
Okay, of course, the Thunder, again, tonight on TNT against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then Saturday night here in downtown Oklahoma City against Kobe Bryant and the lackluster Lakers. That's all for this edition of Thunder Thursday, but you can stay with the best coverage team every day in News OK and every morning in the Oklahoman. Enjoy the game, guys.